I was like, there's no way. Bro just flew into the hoop. What?
So, ladies and gentlemen, have I had the most eventful week of the week? So the 6th of September, I decided to get my cute little ass down to a venue in East London, the Sports and Grill Bar to be precise, and to meet some of my favorite YouTubers ever. Friday Night Tights, the critical drinker himself, and it was just an amazing time. In fact, I got there at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and not long after, while I was just eating my very mid pizza and a massive Coke about that size, this lanky Indian fella walked up to me. He says, "You're Kung Fu Hot Dog, aren't you?" Now, I was wearing a name badge, but the guy who wrote it for me, and I got to give a shout out to him as well, Jamie, very, very awesome gentleman. He did actually say, well, look, my writing's terrible, so there's no way he could have read it from that far. And I thought, all right, fair enough. Now, this is like a reoccurring bad joke throughout the evening. I left after 7:30, but there were random members of that gathering or that fellowship, as I like to say, who walked up to me and said, "Oh yeah, I know who you are. Yeah, I've seen your stuff on YouTube. You're funny. I was gutted that you were leaving at one point." And I thought, oh my God, you know what that tells me? People actually watch the videos. I even had one young lad from Birmingham, he's probably about 20, walking up to me and saying that he watches my stuff. And I thought, wow. I had a couple of pictures taken and I thought that was absolutely hilarious. So it's interesting. What the takeaway I got is that YouTubing is way more, it's more close-knit than, say, if you're in TV or film world, where that's a bit more up your nose sort of thing. I would say 3 types of people showed up for this event. You have your autistic people, you have the overconfident zealots. I'm probably in that category because I'd rather make a fool of myself in front of someone that I really like, as opposed to stumbling and fumbling and then end up being a bigger ass than you turn out to be. And then you've got the shy, introverted individuals as well. So you had that 3 core categories of people who showed up yesterday. But an amazing time. In fact, the first person who walked in was X-Ray Girl, and I wanted to walk up to her, but I was like, oh no, she's just walked in, I can't really. But then suddenly she started getting bombarded, but it was great. And when Critical Drinker walked in, I just sat down and went, "Will!" And he kind of looked really startled, like, "Who the fuck are you, mate?" And everybody started cheering. So again, the catalyst. I know you can thank me later on, ladies and gentlemen. It was just so incredible. I hung out a little bit with Shadversity. He was great.
Kung Fu Hot Dog.
Of course, the main man I wanted to meet there was Gary from Nerdrotic, and he did not let me down. They say never meet your heroes or heroines. But honestly, Gary was just a breath of fresh air. I wish somebody had caught that initial first few moments of our meeting because it was absolutely hilarious. His reaction was incredible. That is definitely a very modest fellow right there. I can tell you that much, ladies and gentlemen.
How long do you want it to go?
What's up?
Now what's up?
Watch Kung Fu Hot Dog. Yes! He eats them the long way.
The Cringe-Pocalypse with Jason King on Kung Fu Hot Dog. Go ahead, make his day.
So without further ado, we are going to get into today's video of the very strange woke news of the week, beginning with, of course, what is a podcast? What is the world of cringe without Miss Cringe herself, Rachel Zegler? And I've been watching some of the videos on her official YouTube channel. I had to dig this one up as well because it was just, it's doing the rounds. And I've heard rumors that there might be putting the brakes on Snow White for next year. I don't think that's going to happen, actually. I think it's going full steam ahead. They might do some reshoots, but I'm definitely hoping it's going to get released. Somebody asked me at the FNT event last night if I'm going to go and watch the film. Yeah, of course I am. Absolutely. I'm going to go out there. Yes, I'm giving Disney my money, but I really want to see how bad this film actually is. And if it turns out to be a really hilarious comedy, then that's brilliant.
We're turning the corner, lesbians. We're turning the corner.
Did she say turning the corner, lesbians? Oh my God.
We're back, bitch! Well, I'm back. You're here.
We're back, bitch.
I'm Snow White!
No matter how close that camera tries to get in on Zegler's tits, I'm just sitting there with a magnifying glass going, pardon me there? So yeah, she was in Disneyland, Paris I think it was, and she's like exclamating, she's Snow White! And of course you can hear the sound of crickets downstairs. That's just how nullifying that actually was. The reason why I'm actually bringing this up, because this post surfaced or resurfaced yesterday. Now, I don't know, this looks like it's a recent set of pictures or collage, you like, or Rachel Zegler. This is Respect Women Day and Every Day. Now, of course, I actually do agree with that sentiment. I have an appreciation of beautiful women. That's my point of view. And I'm not for the replacement of women with transgender women, if that makes any sense. But of course, Rachel Zegler is not doing herself any favors if she's flipping the bird at, I suppose, men or people that hate her in every shot here. And I mean, this one here, look at this picture right here, which is drinking Coke as opposed to sniffing it. I mean, her head is marginally more out of proportion than her body. It's just an alarming thing to see. So Rachel, you know, she's talked about mental health, how she made a couple of videos, but she didn't like the way she looked in them, which is fine. If you're 22, you're going to be very choosy and fussy about your image, but she's done a lot of brand damage to her image already. So I'm very curious to see what's going to happen in the next few months. You know, going into 2024, folks, that's going to be a very interesting time. I'm still thinking that the Hollywood strike will carry on. You know, when you talk about AI taking over, Skynet, oh boy, there's some things I've seen and heard out there like, yeah, you know what? I think people are going to be doing away with live performers because AI is a lot more tangible for certain shortcuts. And I think it's a fascinating thing. Also, The Flash. I saw this movie once and I don't ever want to see it again, but behind the scenes footage lends credence to the rumor that The Flash visual effects were unfinished, countering Andy Muschietti, or Muschietti as they like to call him, and his spin. Because what did Andy Muschietti say? Oh, the special effects are done. They look a certain way because of the speed force and the way Ezra Miller's retarded running causes these ripple effects in the atmosphere. And it's absolutely dog shit, because what this article from Bounding Into Comics actually goes on to say is that basically the visual effects designers were under a lot of pressure. They weren't allowed to go in there and finish off the effects properly, give them the old sheen and polish that they actually needed. And of course, why am I surprised to even say this? So there's a video linked down here actually, where this gentleman talks about, here we are, that's it, the Flash fighting Dark Flash, and you're supposed to see these are like the effects that we saw in his cinematic version, I believe. And I haven't actually watched this video in full, but it's meant to go on to show what it should have turned out to be, but they didn't quite make the finishing line. And sticking with the superhero genre, which, as Critical Drinker pointed out a couple of days ago, and I thought it was a very good point that he made, it's not the death of the superhero movie, is just the death of another genre, which is superhero films, and that's absolutely true. You know the good old days when people like Richard Donner made Superman, and you had Steve Norrington with Blade? You know how these kind of out of the blue entries came along and it was very, very special? And now all of a sudden Hollywood kind of tripped over a few times, and then when Iron Man came out in 2008, like, yep, let's go. And somebody who doesn't want to, well, stick around the MCU is Elizabeth Olsen. Terrific actress. I used to watch her indie stuff before she got snared by the tentacles of Marvel and got to play Miss Maximoff. And what has she got to say? It's kind of a sentiment that really echoes what Chris Hemsworth has said recently, that he wants to play other roles. She says, it's not just about being Scarlet Witch because there's no longevity in one character. And that's true. Even if you take the actors who have played James Bond over the years, it's not been one actor for 60 years because that just can't happen. But of course, Daniel Craig and Phoebe Waller-Bridge made sure they hammered that nail in hard for the Bond franchise. Bond is a problematic male character. He's white. He womanizes. He has little respect for chicks, which is actually not that true. I hope Liz Olsen goes back to starring in some small independent films. It's a real shame she's not on social media anymore because she was on Instagram and I followed her there. But when Chadwick Boseman died and she didn't post a tribute to him, everybody went after her. And I think the woman has a choice whether she wants to pay tribute to somebody or what or not. Do you know what I mean? And I think in her case, she probably didn't know Chadwick Boseman very well and felt she wasn't in a place to actually put a tribute like every one of her other colleagues did. And I think that was just playing out of order that the fans pressurized her that she had to switch off social media on Instagram. Real shame actually, but I do like her. She's very easy on the eye, and yeah, the day she stops playing Wanda Maximoff, I'm not going to lose any sleep over that.
What do you think of these?
I think they're fantastic.
They're all right.
No, they're fantastic.
Not a little too big.
They're perfect.
But still, I'd like to try another pair.
Well,
So a new rumor claims that the Rebel Moon film is going to be a mature take on Star Wars. Apparently Netflix want to do a trilogy of these type of films, and it's not just leveled at that. Apparently there's a video game coming out, a mature Star Wars game, because there are several games in development at the moment, although if a video game strike does actually go ahead, then that's going to be put on hold, doesn't it? Apparently there's an RPG video game that's in development for this. We're talking about a multimedia franchise that Netflix is working to invoke Order 66. Or maybe in the case of Zack Snyder's 666. It's not a single movie. It's not just two movies. This is an entire franchise push. We've got multiple animated shorts that are apparently in development. A TV show is expected to be officially in development after the Writers Guild of America strikes are completed. Yeah. Well, we'll see. Anything can change in that time, so I don't hold that much hope for this. So the last thing I'm going to end this video on today, folks, was the drama that ensued over the weekend with Starfield and ads from heel versus babyface. So one thing I didn't cover, I'm going to show it to you right now. So people think that Az just went on a rant because of, you know, the pronoun brigades. It's actually a lot more than that. Like, to me, when I saw the footage, even in the B-roll stuff that they were showing, the sizzle reels on YouTube, like, I'm seeing a lot of diverse characters, a lot of NPCs of all diversities, and the main character is a white female called Sarah, but in Az's gameplay, you're just seeing like a lot of diverse characters. It is diversity hitting you over and over and over again until you kind of become desensitized to the whole thing. But watch this moment here, ladies and gentlemen, because it is quite prophetic and telling as to why Az moments later went into that historic rant that he did.
Captain,
Babies.
over here.
hi.
The workup's in the cabinet's hands.
They said they'll call for us once they've gotten to properly review it.
Okay.
But listen, I know I should have been more forthcoming about who I was earlier.
Yes.
So, in the interest of full disclosure, there's one more thing you ought to know before we head up there.
You're a dude.
My relationship
Oh.
with the UC. It's more complicated than it might seem at first glance.
Uh-huh.
The UC's actually the only reason I'm here in the first place.
Yeah.
I am a clone of a man named Francois Sanon. One time he was admiral of the UC during
So
the
this chick
former head of the
is a clone of somebody called Francois Sanon. So did Francois, was he based on somebody else perhaps? You know what? Shit like this that appears in your entertainment needs to be seriously regulated. There has to be a regulatory body out there that should examine these things before they go out into pastures green, like the customers, before they pull out their wallets and go and buy this game, or however, by whatever means possible, and only to be sat down and to be given a lecture in the gender transgenics. Am I wrong? Am I going insane? Am I insane in the membrane? So ladies and gentlemen, this was a bit of a roller coaster today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you'll come back for more, because if you were me, and if I were you, and maybe you might hear me on a live stream this weekend, I will post details down below. You can catch me on the next video.
You're watching Kung Fu Hot Dog. Go away now.